Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a beer from Bombastic Brewing Company. It's been many months since I've had one from them, and I saw this one pop up in my Tavour and it sounded awesome. So this specific beer is called Aggravated Murder. It's banana edition. They have multiple different flavorings of this specific beer. This is an Imperial Stout that clocks in at 11.5% ABV. It's been brewed with maple syrup, coffee, and banana flavoring. Bombastic Brewing Company is based in Hayden, Ohio. So starting with label art, they've always got pretty interesting label art on here, and sticking true to one of their kind of common themes, they've got some crows on the label here. I don't know how best to describe it, but they're kind of hovering over some dead something. And as always, it does look really neat, kind of like a pen on paper kind of drawing style. It looks really awesome. So nonetheless, we're going to get this one cracked. Been a while since I've had one of Bombastic's flavored stouts. I've had quite a few now, and they have all been really good. So I have high hopes for this. Banana is one of my top favorite foods in the world, and I love all things banana flavored. If I get a milkshake, it's banana. Either that or cheesecake. Better yet, mix them. But nonetheless, let's get this one poured right in the stout glass. Ooh, bit of a sloppy start, but we got it going. This one's not super thick, but it is very dark. All right, I'm going to slow that down. It's having no problem forming a head. I could have a mess on my hands potentially here. No. It caught itself right at the rim of the glass. So I think I just got very lucky right there. All right, while that head is settling, visually, as expected, it is absolutely pitch black. This is 11.5%. It's a stout. Next thing I can tell you is that the aroma is indeed quite pronounced. Obviously, it's very active in terms of carbonation. Aside from the fact this head is very quickly going to settle down, I don't think we're going to have a ton of retention. It's got too loose of bubbles, too much carbonation coming up. It's not foaming super tight, packed foam more than it is just a head. But that's okay. That'll give me a chance to top this off just a bit, and then we're going to get right up over it for a full proper sniff. What I can smell smells really good. All right, yeah. So the combination of ingredients on this beer give it almost a banana bread-like aroma. It smells very doughy. Obviously, it's a stout. It's got a lot of fermentables in it, so there's a lot of grain. Paired with that maple and that banana, though, it really is taking on this fresh-baked banana bread aroma. And yeah, you can smell the coffee in there a little bit, but it's not coming to the forefront. So it doesn't really smell like a coffee beer. I'm going to be interested to see exactly how they use the coffee in this recipe, but it smells really good. It looks great. The head's completely out of the way now. Let's just jump in and see what this one's about. Ooh. Oh, wow. Oh, that's delicious. Oh, man. Ooh. That's really nice. I've only ever had a few beers in my life that have banana as a flavoring agent in them. Wells Banana Bread Beer, a British brewer. Wells is probably among the most well-known. That's a really good beer. This puts me in mind of that kind of the flavor profile, just in a much larger, more intense beer package. So let's start with the body and the mouthfeel. The body on this is a solid medium heavy bordering on heavy. It feels exactly right. It's got real breadth to it. It's a very robust body on this beer. Mouthfeel, very resistant indeed. It didn't look that thick as I was pouring it, but make no mistake, this is a very thick, viscous beer with a big, heavy body. It has real presence on the palate, no question about it. In terms of what happens in the flavor profile, this is where it gets really fun. So the first thing when you initially swallow, you are just immediately flooded with banana and maple together that is paired with this underlying maltiness that really does make it taste like banana bread in a glass. And that just intensifies and intensifies and intensifies. And then the coffee, after just a few seconds, finally starts to creep up in there slowly and kind of join the party. And the coffee, it's more pronounced in the flavor, certainly than it is on the aroma, but it works in this. And it really is kind of binding with that really roasty edge to this malt bill, so it doesn't taste out of place like, oh, somebody threw coffee and banana bread. That's weird. You know, you could easily eat banana bread with a cup of coffee, and that's kind of what it's reminding me of. It's adding this underlying richness that's really binding with the richness and deep roasty nature of the malt bill, working in tandem. So yeah, it's like whole grain banana bread with a little bit of coffee, and it's really, really delicious. I can't honestly believe how intense that banana flavor comes through. In fact, it's definitely the dominant flavor profile out of the additives for sure. The maple is probably the least prevalent just because it adds this underlying sweetness. You can taste the maple, but really what it kind of seems to be doing is kind of binding with that banana to really actually make it pop out and taste like banana. So there's this underlying sweetness to it that really makes the flavor taste like it should. And then that's just mixing with this malt bill, and the coffee is kind of like this extra bonus on top. Absolutely delicious. So one thing that I wasn't really paying that much attention to, because there was a lot happening in this flavor development, I really wasn't paying attention at all to the finish. So I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to have another sip, let these flavors re-intensify, see if there's anything else I missed, and then we'll talk about this finish here. Really delicious beer. Man, that body is so robust. Yeah, banana, intense banana. And you can, if you're really thinking about it, you can pick out the maple, but it is so below the intensity of that banana. It's really just playing partner. Now, a few seconds have passed. All of that malt bill is opening up, and the coffee is slowly starting to creep in. Banana is still just as intense as it was on first sip, starting to die back a little bit. Malt bill is progressively intensifying its presence. Really roasty edge. Coffee is slowly building up, and it really is just working together. I never would have thought coffee added with this ingredient list would make it taste like banana bread in beer form, but it really, really does. This is truly delicious. I mean, they didn't call it a pastry stout, but they easily could have. This is just well done. Absolutely fantastic beer. In terms of the length of the finish, so the flavor pungency is pretty good. This is above average, but it's not, it's not barrel-aged kind of territory. It's above average for an Imperial in this ABV range, to be certain, and it's big, bold, nice in-your-face flavors, but they kind of die back a little bit, and the end finish isn't super, super long. Not top tier, but it's certainly above average. In terms of texturally where it finishes off, this is not a dry stout. It's nice and full and wet and round to the end. And honestly, I think that helps kind of with this banana bread image that I have in my head as I'm drinking this. All I know is it's absolutely delicious. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Bombastic Brewing Company's Aggravated Murder Banana Edition, an Imperial Stout brewed with maple syrup, coffee, and banana flavoring, clocked in at 11.5% ABV. Bombastic Brewing Company is based in Hayden, Idaho. So starting with the aroma on this beer was massive. It really did smell just like banana bread in the glass. Indeed, I couldn't even detect any of the coffee coming in the aroma, but it smelled absolutely amazing, hugely pungent. The aroma gets a 10 out of 10. For the taste on this beer was really something else. I've only had a very tiny handful of all the thousands of beers I've had in my life that had banana in them. Those that I have had were excellent. This I can put among that same elite group. It was excellent. It really did put me in mind of liquid banana bread. The coffee wasn't too intense that it cut those flavors in the beginning, so the malt bill paired with that slight sweetness from the maple and the banana, it just worked to really put me in mind of banana bread. And then kind of on the back end, the coffee started to open up with the richly roasted edge of the malts for the back for almost like a nice cup of medium roast black coffee with your banana bread. Absolutely delicious. Taste gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the body, as expected on an Imperial Stout, nearing 12%, it was very robust indeed. The body does get a 10 out of 10. For the mouthfeel on this was quite resistant. It was indeed a very, very thick beer. Didn't look quite that thick as I was pouring it, but when I got it in my mouth, for sure. There was a ton of resistance. I mean, it was bordering on syrupy. It was so nice and viscous. I really enjoyed it. It paired perfectly with that big, robust body. Mouthfeel does get a 10 out of 10. For the finish on this beer was quite long, significantly longer than your average beer, but it wasn't quite as long as some stouts that maybe focus a little more on bittering elements, or certainly a barrel-aged counterpart. But what did come through was very big and bold. It was very enjoyable how the flavors all interwove, and how it did finish out on the end was really, really nice. Above average. Finish does get a 7 out of 10. For the head and retention, this one did okay. It really just did average. It formed a decent head at the start, and it collapsed reasonably quickly, and there wasn't that much left over by the end of my beer drinking experience, nor really anywhere near it, but overall it was really just average. Head and retention gets a 5 out of 10. For the appearance on this beer was absolutely pitch black as expected. It does get a 10 out of 10. For the balance on this beer I really, really appreciated. They had obviously a really well put together malt bill, but then adding the maple, the coffee, and the banana, getting that into this beer and letting them kind of do their thing without getting in the way or kind of getting in front of the others, so that they all worked and made just this harmonious beer drinking experience. That's how to do it. They balanced this perfectly. Balance does get a 10 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I loved it. It was a really, really delicious stout. One of the few beers I've ever had with banana, and they nailed it. Feeling in the intangible does get a 10 out of 10. Finally, as an example of the style, this is just a very, very well done stout. It lost a few points in a few categories, most notably head and retention, just average, but in the grand scheme of things, this was a really, really well done stout, and the balance on it really speaks volumes. Absolutely enjoyable beer drinking experience, and I think it does deserve a well-earned 10 out of 10, which brings the total score on Bombastic Brewing Company's Aggravated Murder Banana Edition to a 92 out of 100. So here we go, another beer from Bombastic that is significantly above average. I haven't had that many of the beers, but all of them that I have had are excellent, and this is no exception. If you're a fan of big flavored Imperial Stouts or just banana and banana beer in general, I know it's hard to come by. This is one to keep your eye out for. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, click that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.